I got 2 thousandths of clearance here and about 3 or 4 thousandths of clearance right here to drop that receiver in on that taper. But I can't do that until I mill all this other stuff out and see where I am. I don't have any way of checking it except what I just did. Now I got to figure out what the top opening is out here. See, there's only about 3 inches of barrel, round barrel channel out here on this very end. The rest of it's just all open. See, this is a straight cut down. It's tapered with the barrel along in here, but it's a straight cut in there. And that straight cut goes all the way up to right there. You got about that much that's actually round bottom for a barrel to sit in. And that stops right there. I don't know if it needs all that clearance. I'm going to make it as little as possible because I'm just leery of that thing being so thin in the bottom. Now I've got to draw a top line where the barrel, how wide that barrel is, the taper. So if I center that 1/2 inch bit front to back and just run it down through there at 1 1/10, I can start from there and go out and taper that barrel. I need 1.1. I got 1.108. I got 8 thousandths clearance for that slide. That's enough. I've got to mill out this little flat place for that rear lug to sit in. And that thing's about 1/8 of an inch deep, give or take. Something like that. I think I better go ahead and mill out this barrel channel to let that thing sit down in there where I can do a test fit on it. I got a feeling this flat place I just milled is not deep enough, but I'm going to start with that. I can always deepen it later. Now if I can get a pencil to go past all this mechanism and make me a line. And that's the back of the barrel, right there at that line. I got to cut the barrel out to these marks here, and then I've got to drop it down inside there and mill it out wider for this mechanism here. this mechanism here that slides back and forth when the shots are fired has got to be pulled back to drop it in and then let it spring forward. Matter of fact, I've got to take this little groove out here to 5/8 or better, because that's what this little square block is, 5/8. But this is one more. I'll tell you what it's like. It reminds me a little bit of an M1 German, where all this sliding mechanism stuff goes inside. The wood hides it, but there's all this big bunch of sliding going on back and forth. And I'm not surprised, because in 1962 this gun was made, and a lot of veterans had just come back from World War II a few years before, and they had seen what that sliding action semi-automatic rifle could do. And so I'm not surprised that they would kind of pattern it a little bit along those same lines. Doesn't surprise me at all. Well, this is the next morning. Actually, it's about 11:30 the next morning. This is May. In this part of the world, in May, we're gardening. So I get up earlier in the day and get my gardening work done. Yesterday was tough. I was out of sorts. It's just the way life is sometimes. And so I had a hard time doing what I did, and this is one of the hardest inletting jobs that I have taken on in many years. It's easier when you know this is on a drawing board with a CNC, and you know this has got to come out to here and here. But I'm trying to relieve wood in areas that I can't see and that I don't know the clearance of all this. Anyway, yesterday was tough. It's a wonder I didn't screw something up majorly, but anyway, today's a new day. I have a mark right there where this lug sits, and the front of the lug is right there. So the back of this barrel action goes to right there, and without the lug in place I have a little play wiggle room, but I can bring it to that mark. So that mark is my guide on where this thing goes in and all this slide mechanism goes forward. It also is a guide for where this lug, on the front lug, there's a screw underneath here that drills down into this little bit of a barrel channel there. And so when I get this exactly right, and I know it's right, then I can mark that and then tweak it from there. When I'm drilling a hole that really matters on the position, I drill a smaller hole, and then I will come and enlarge it. If I have to ooch it this way, that way, I can do that when I'm drilling the full size, the normal size hole. And right now I'm still working on this slide action in here. I inletted a place on the side where this bolt extractor arm comes back. It's got a slide back and forth through here, and I didn't get it quite wide enough, quite big enough. It's tight, and that's okay. I can make it bigger, but I just don't like the idea of so much gap and room in here. That original stock that I have been referring to had enough room to throw a cat through. I just don't like that if it's not necessary. You know, if it's necessary, that's one thing, but if it's not necessary, I don't care for that. Lots of room and play everywhere. I'd rather have it to fit as close to. Of course, I'm used to working on bolt actions. I don't do a lot of automatics. So if this wasn't a 100 Winchester and had such sentimental value, I probably wouldn't be doing it. Anyway, onward and upward. I've got to make. There's something rubbing that's right here in the middle, and it's kind of. I hope I've left a scuff mark. If I've left a little bit of a scuff, now part of it is also this bolt pulling lever, this bolt sticking out. There's a little it's made for the stock to be rounded upwards, and there's a little notch in there that it goes into, and this stock is square on these edges, and I've got to round that off just to let the thing go down, because there's a that shape of that bolt going over that square edge, it won't go down right yet. Just another, like I said, I'm having to work on about 4 or 5 fronts here at the same time, and it's difficult. This little shape I told you about, the bolt handle, see, this is cut away. That shape right in there is cut away, and the wood has to come up in that same shape right in there, and right now my wood is square. I can actually see a scuff mark on that where that's hitting that. I could go ahead and relieve that. That would be one thing out of the way. Oh yeah, there's scuff marks all down through here. I've just got to widen this thing out. Maybe too much explanation for somebody that wanted to sit down and watch a video like this with get a little relaxation out of it. I'm sorry for that. Please accept my apology. That should relieve that enough for that bolt handle to, if it doesn't, it'll scuff it. Next time I try to put it in there, it'll scuff it and show me where I need to keep cutting.